Hello and welcome to this video on how to graph using Google Sheets. And so I just want to kind of walk you through how to do a couple of the basic graphs that we normally do so that you have a reference to come back to if you ever need to. So if you go into Google Sheets, if you actually Google Sheets, you usually come to a page that looks like this. And so you can go into Docs, you can go into Slides, you can go into Forms, and you can go into Sheets. And so there's a lot of different applications you can use. I'm a Mac user at home, and so this is really nice for me and user friendly. I will say it's harder to actually print from school using these, and so we tend to have a lot more Microsoft things. So I also will have a video on Microsoft Excel with graphing as well. So I'm going to go to Google Sheets here and get off of that page, and it should load up with my really slow internet today because I'm uploading a different video at the same time. And so once we get in here, we want to actually put in our new data. And so I'm going to have a variety of different things that I can do. We are just going to pick a blank spreadsheet. So I'm just going to pick a blank spreadsheet right here, and then that should bring up something that looks like an Excel file as well. Okay, so if I'm doing this, I want to make sure that I title my stuff, and I want this to be sample Google graphs. Sample Google graphs. Okay, so what I want to do is show you how we would set up our data. Now, if we're doing something that's going to be linear, and that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to do something that is going to be linear. Okay. So I'm just going to put that up here. So what do I do if I have a linear thing? Well, I'm going to, in the first column, I'm going to write in my independent, or I could call that my manipulated info. Okay, and so we'll always do that when we come to something like this. I'm going to make that a little bit wider there, and I'll make this one wider too for us. You don't normally have to do that. So here I'm going to do my dependent, or my responding data. Okay, so this is usually what we are changing, and this is going to be what changes as a result, what we measure and record. So what I want to do is say I have a gradient and I start off with 0, and then I'm going to go in increments of say 10. Okay, we've seen this, we'll see this in some of our labs. 20, 30, and maybe I go up to 40. Okay, so there is what my gradients are. Now I do not, when I do a linear graph, I do not want to attach any values to this, any units to this in the actual spreadsheet, because it will goof things up. And so say my responding variables, my responding data, my information here, say that went, maybe the first one was 0, and the next one was 4, and then say we had one that was 11, and this one here was 27, and then we had one that was say 35. Okay, so there's our data that came from a lab. So now what we want to do is we want to graph this data. Again, I did not attach any units in here. We put the units into our actual data table. So I'm going to click on 0, and then I go ahead and highlight all of my numbers here. And I want to go to this little icon up here that says Insert Chart. Okay, and I click on that, and it's going to bring up and give me some options. Now, this is a linear graph. It gives me some recommendations. The one I actually want is here, but I like to manipulate it a little bit more on my own. So I go to Chart Types, and then I scroll down until I find Scatter, because if we're doing something linear, we want to do Scatter, and then we want to do a best fit line. Okay, so there's my scatter plot that I have. Okay, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to customize it. And this is really nice if you do it from here. So to give myself a title, I'm going to title it Figure 1. Okay, that's a good way to title your graphs to start with. And then I'm going to describe what this graph represents. Okay, and make sure you're descriptive about that. And then I'm going to come down here and I see horizontal axes. And so horizontal axes, remember, is going to be whatever my that's going to be my, we'll have our description. I'll just do this. And our unit in parentheses, okay? And then to change to our horizontal, I want to go left vertical, okay? So I click on the drop-down menu and I switch that to my left vertical, and then I do description and my unit. Okay. So now those are going to be put on, and then the last thing I want to do is I want to scroll all the way down and I want to add in a trend line, okay? And this one is a linear trend line. We will see exponential ones as well. So there's my trend line. And I should actually be able to customize my trend line, okay, to give me my equation. And so that's going to be an important thing that I want to know for some of these. I don't like mine squished over on the side, so I can actually put my equation, I think, somewhere else. Maybe not. Oh, I think if I double click on it, I can put it somewhere else. Anyhow, and then I just click insert, and then I have my graph ready to go. Okay, like I said, sometimes this is a little tougher to be able to get in. There we go. I do this. So now I can change my position. I can make it on the bottom if I want to. Okay, so there's the slope-intercept form of my line. All right, so that's really nice. It gives us a linear graph. But a lot of times we may not have some sort of a linear graph. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put in what we would do if we had a, say, column graph, which is probably the next most common thing that you guys will see. So in this one, again, I'm going to put in my independent variable information, okay, and then here's where I'm going to put my dependent variable data. Now, in this case, we'll have categories. So this would be category 1, category 2. So this is where we don't have number values. We actually have some sort of category. Okay, say we have 3 categories. 3. Okay. Now that I have that, so say that the first one was, I don't know, 34, and the second one was 65, and the third one was 12. Okay. So in order for me to graph these, I'm going to do something very similar. So I'm going to highlight just my numbers. Again, don't put any unit values in these, okay, because that goes in on your axes when you go to make your chart. Again, I like to go to chart types. You can go to a couple different places, and then I scroll down, and I'm going to pick a column chart, okay, and then I'm going to click on customization so that I can come back in. Now, if you goof and you hit insert already, let me show you how to do that. Say you just clicked insert, but you weren't quite done. Well, you want to edit, so I'm going to go to the pen here, and I'm going to go into edit. Okay. Actually, that one doesn't work. I have to click on this down menu, and then I can go to advanced edit. And that should bring that information back up that I needed. And so it's back here. So again, now this one is my second graph, so I'm going to say figure 2, because this is the second one I'm doing for this set of data. And then a description of what is in the table or the graph. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on my horizontal axes, and I'm going to have my category, main idea or main concept, okay, and there's no units on there usually, unless you have something possibly, and then again on the side, because there are different categories, now we're going to have our variable, so dependent variable with our unit in parentheses, and that's just whatever the shorthand is for those. Okay. So now again, I have all of my information in there. I really shouldn't need any more. So that should be all that I need on there, unless I want to add in some legends or things like that. So I can push update, and then I have this chart, and I can go back in and edit and modify as needed to be able to create a chart that's going to be best for me. Again, being able to print these at school is a little bit tough, but a lot of us who use Macs at home, this is a nice way to go, especially if you're printing from home. So I hope that was helpful. Sometimes you can get these into a different document so you can print them nice and easily. And we'll see you soon.